are live.
I see that we're live, yes.
Excellent. Thanks for joining me, Tamia. Thank you and welcome everybody watching us on wherever you may be, whatever platform you may be. Welcome to the Nkosi Talk Show, where we help you find your voice from within. All of the coaches and the speakers that come on board are available to contact directly, either on our Facebook page and all the rest of the social media. As I welcome you today, my name is Kamal Amer. I am a certified NLP trainer, master practitioner, hypnotherapist, as well as a certified life purpose specialist. Now, I find joy and happiness in helping people uncover their purposes in life through ancient Egyptian methodologies as well as NLP. And we work a little bit around these two and bring all of that knowledge into the modern world so that you can find and live a more purposeful and more satisfying life. So welcome to the show. Tamia, please introduce yourself and introduce the subject of the day.
Awesome, Kamal. I'm so excited to be here with you. Kamal and I are both part of the leadership team for the Nkosi Talk Show. So we're super excited to be here. Today is Women History Month, the start of Women History Month, at least in the USA. I don't know if it's international. I know we do International Women's Day next Monday, which we'll be here again for that. But I'm excited. My name is Tamia Dow, and I am a coach and a chaplain and a filmmaker. I know you think, interesting combinations, but I have a very unique, actually, life experience that I just love. I've been in the military. I've done law enforcement for years and retired from it. I'm a huge advocate for women and violence against women. I mean, against it, right? I do education for domestic violence and sex trafficking. And the really cool thing is right now, today, I am in Sedona, Arizona. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Google it. I am here preparing for a future retreat. So if it's something that you would be interested in, coming to just a spiritual retreat, empowerment retreat, we will be doing it in Sedona, Arizona. So follow me so you can find out more about it. But anyways, today, Kamal, I'm so excited. We are talking about Women History Month and the importance of it. Women Her Story Month. You put the her where the his is. And I'm so excited because I actually consider myself a part of history myself, in that I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. So I told you I was in Sedona, but I'm on a retreat scouting right now, retreat location scouting. But I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. And while I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is my home, I've been there since 1980, probably longer than most people who are watching us that are old, right? But I love the city. It's very unique in that it has every aspect. It's not just casino gambling. People think Vegas, they think gambling, they think adult education or adult entertainment, that kind of stuff. That's not only what Vegas is about. Yet I had the opportunity to patrol the streets of Las Vegas as a police officer. I worked for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And part of my story, her story, is that I was the second Black female to patrol the streets of Las Vegas. And it was a very unique and interesting experience. I joined the department like in 1989 when I joined, and it was me and one other lady, that was Black, that patrolled the city, which you would think in such a large metropolitan city would be like unheard of, right? That in 1989, you are on your second Black female. So anyway, so it was a very unique experience, and it's part of my story, her story. And I have always been a person that just really believe in raising women up, empowering them, letting them learn what they need to learn to do what they want to do, because I believe in making dreams come true. And I know you do too, Kamal. So I know you have an amazing story to share about this Women History Month, and I want you to jump in.
Well, first of all, you know what? Your story is amazing, actually, and being in the end of the 80s and only having two African American officers, or I'm going to say black because I'm also African. I'm partial African, so I'm allowed to say that. You froze for a second there, I think. But
Oh, what was I talking about? Am I moving now?
oh yeah, there you go. So, and I was saying it's pretty amazing that, well, in both sense, right? That there were only two officers, or black officers, African American officers, right? And it makes you still wonder, okay, that oppression is still continuing today, still until this day, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting that you would say that, because there's still, probably my entire career, I was on the department for 23 years before I retired. Because here in the U.S., you can retire between 20 and 25 years. 25 years, if you buy time in the system, gets you a full retirement, which I bought time in the system. So I have a full retirement right now. I'm living off the earnings of my career.
That's the dream, right?
Yes, I'm a pensioner, as some countries say, but as I mentioned, now I'm not just a pensioner. Now I actually continue to, speak, do workshops, do trainings to empower. It's not just empowering women, but my focus really is on having other women kind of see my life and
Right.
see that they can do it, and that, to me, is when you see someone who looks like you, even if it's just that they're a woman, it tells you, oh, I can do that too. And I really believe in the power of that.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And uh, to tell you a little bit of my story and what I do here as well, with at least with my karate school, because I have also clients that are women, and how I was brought up is very different than the what I will call the feminist movement that has been going on in the past years. We spoke about that privately, and I still want to share it because I think this is something very empowering to women. And it is a part that modern society and modern women have dismissed, they have taken offense, and they have used it against themselves, not only men, to allow themselves to grow. And what I'm talking about is, it's not about the equal pay, because I believe that totally, that all women and men should be paid equally for their jobs. I'm talking about the fact that we are, by definition, by biology, very unequal. A woman has gifts and talents that she can do that a man cannot handle. And the same is the opposite. That doesn't mean that a woman can't do what a man does, or a man can't do what a woman does. No, it just means that a woman might be better at certain things. And you see, we take all of these extremes as well. We say, oh, if a man can do it, like there are these expressions, right? If a man can do it, I can, so can I, a woman. But you forget as well that most women are nurturing. And I'm not saying all of them, because you find also unnurturing women. But you also find the counterpart. You find men that are extremely, extremely nurturing, even much more than women sometimes. But that doesn't mean that they do it better. We are, by definition, by biology, by science, by every sense of the word, all of us on this planet, very different and very unique. So we cannot be equal.
Now, see, I believe that's by socialization, Kamal. And what I mean by that is because I know, excuse me, having worked in the military and having been in law enforcement, I know that there are some people who are predisposed to like a particular type of profession or to do certain type of things. So when I say by socialization, I look at a lot of my female friends who grew up on farms and things such as that. And they're daddy's girls, like I'm a daddy's girl, and when you have a female that's socialized in a very like male dominant type of persona. And, they're watching their father. Not that, I love and I adore my mom, but there was a lot of things that I saw going on in my mom's life that I was like, oh no, I don't like that. I like what's going on in daddy's life. So I, as you see, I went towards, and I still do go towards, very male dominated positions that I excel at. Now, am I out picking up $300 or was it 300-pound barrels of this and that and other? Am I, deadlifting stuff and all? No, because I'm not built for that. I mean, I've seen women do it. They can do it, but it's just not my desire to do that. It's not my desire to be big and muscular and, this kind of stuff. Though I know I bring very unique skills to the male dominated professions that I am in, because of the fact that, number one, if you talk about, let's go there. Okay. So over the course of the last year or so, there was a big discussion all over the world about police being heavy handed.
Right. Yeah.
Now, here's what I want you to look at: the statistics on police being heavy handed. How many women did you see being brought up on charges? There's a few.
There are a few, but not a lot.
But compared to their male counterparts, you didn't have that.
Correct.
And that's because when a woman comes on a scene, our process is the same as the men, except for we don't think in our mind, well, I'll just go punch the dude, or I'll just go,
Exactly.
because, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to escalate. We don't want a fight. Our desire is to bring things down, right?
Correct.
So that, number one, we don't get hurt. Number one, they don't get hurt. And our goal as law enforcement officers want to go home at the end of their shift. They don't want to go, be taken off in a gurney, or, in a box, you know what I'm saying? So I believe that, even though, as you say, I hear what you're saying, I still believe that there's a way that either gender can do certain things, right?
Absolutely.
And the other part of that is, I think about the movement when the war was going, whether it was in our country or anywhere else. And the men went to war, which now they've changed that. Of course, now women can, because I joined the military, I did it, voluntarily. And there's people who don't have to. They never drafted women here in the US, but I know, like in Israel and stuff like there's a mandatory service, male or female. You have to go into the military for a year or two as part of your service as an Israeli citizen, which I actually like, because I learned so much to build my confidence that I still use to this day from the military, because it was kind of a do or die type of situation. Even though it was training for the most part, you had a mission, you had to figure out how to do it. Sometimes you had teammates, but sometimes they sent you on, especially during training, they sent you on solo missions. But those solo missions was to get from this point to that point safely without getting, captured or harmed or whatever, And when you saw that you could do that, and I say you, because it was every soldier had to do it, male or female. But once you saw that you could do it, it made it so much easier for me. Like now, I went from there to the police department, and now I'm directing films and writing films. I learned all of that beginning to end stuff from the military. So I would just love to see even more women. And I think it is growing now. I think the numbers of women voluntarily going into the military, especially in our country, has grown. Because I think it's a great learning experience.
And you know what? I think that's the great thing about having opinions and differences in opinions. Like, I understand where you're coming from, right? Now, on the counterpart, I was raised as being a gentleman, and my sisters were raised as ladies, where a lady should allow a man to open the door for her. When you walk now around, if a man opens the door for a woman, usually I get stares like, why are you opening the door for me? I can do it myself. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with me respecting you. It has to do with me honoring you as a woman. It has nothing to do with me wanting to take charge of your life, right? That's also one part that I believe a lot of women have dismissed in their life because they believe, again, that strong feminine movement and all that, nothing against it. Just saying this is part of a nurturing side as well. That men, some men, not everybody, because I'm not saying all men are gentlemen. Same applies to ladies and women.
Right.
It's a part that we should actually, both genders, learn to appreciate and accept as part of, well, that's nice. That is kind. That is a gesture of respect in a sense.
Right. Right.
And
I consider that kind of basic kindness to one another, because I hear what you're saying, the opening the door, can I carry your bag? Can I assist you? That kind of thing, that a young boy often is taught, from their parents, they're taught to be very respectful of a woman, very respectful of older people, whether it's, male or female, be helper, be caring, be kind, like you said, be kind. So I appreciate that. I really do. I'm not, it's interesting when you say feminist, because when you define feminism, I don't even know that definition. I just know that
I'm just playing along with the movement itself because that's what was represented, basically, how I've seen it happen, how I've seen it with women. At a certain age, a lot of women, they start, at least in the Nordics, right? Around the ages of 40, they start cutting their hair short like a male cut, and they become butch in a sense, right? And
that's interesting.
I don't know
I
how to
think the way
express.
just cut.
I'm very blunt, right? And that's how
It's
I
funny
see it.
though, but I think they just cut it short because it's easier to maintain.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I understand that. I understand it's very easy to maintain, but on the counter side, they become more male dominant, right? In a sense where their behaviors, their actions, their mannerisms are all male directed. Now, I'm not insulting, and I'm not I hope nobody takes offense about that, but this is how I see things. I've been studying and watching people ever the age of 4 with my mom, and I see these patterns in people, and it makes me wonder, have these roles changed to a point where people cannot define anymore who they are? And that applies to both men and women. When I say that, it's because empowering woman means allowing her to be, for me at least, it means to allow a woman to be who she wants to be by maintaining her sense of womanhood. And by womanhood, I mean all of the definitions that you may start with, whether it's a lady, whether it's being butch, whether it's she's whatever she wants to be, right? But at the same
See,
time,
but that's what I find interesting with you saying that the woman, because I know what it is when women get to be about 40 or so, is they get a sense of self, a strong sense of self. Right. And it has nothing to do with their gender per se, but it also goes back to them looking at, let's say, how you were socialized, like I said, how you were raised, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe, maybe they've been married, maybe they've had children, maybe they've been working in a job where they didn't aspire or end up believing that they could do what they wanted to do at that job. An example would be, let's say they had a job, and when they first started, they were like, I'm going to be the president of whatever the job is, right? And then they kept watching guys get president and guys get president. And they're like, okay, I moved up a little bit, but gosh, that guy just started last week and he's the president, that kind of thing. Yeah. So they started to have this frustration. And this is why I talk about empowering women, because my thing is, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Let's get there. Let's figure out how to get you there. I won't sit there and go, oh, it's always been guys up there as president. Just give up that and stay where you are at VP of whatever, no, go for president, because and at this point, like you'll find out that women are like, I'm not taking nonsense anymore. Somebody says something crazy to me, I'm going to tell them about themselves, I mean, so you just get this sense of boldness as you mature, because it's like, I've been socialized to be quiet and demure and just accept and this and this and this. But you know how I am. Yeah. I know that God has empowered us and given us dreams in our hearts of what it is that we desire. And because of that empowerment, he wants us to walk the path that he's laid down for us. And unfortunately, the world itself sometimes, because we are in pretty much throughout the world in a patriarchal society where it's men dominated, right? So when you have women who have dreams of doing things that men are doing, and in their mind, because I'm going back to my folks that were raised on farms and raised by their dads, and and I won't say just like the dad's not there, because there's mom and dad in each situation, but when the young lady gravitates towards her father, then she sees that she can do in her mind and in her persona what she wants to do. Daddy drives a truck, let me drive a truck, right? That's very not a female thing to do. But I know a lot of female truck drivers, you know what I'm saying? Right. So they have this desire to do these things that are not necessarily feminine. They're not staying home and doing the kitchen and this. But then again, they may have a family and be at home doing the kitchen and truck driving. You know what I'm saying? So I believe in no limitations and no no dictation that says, oh, you're a woman, so the highest you can go is here. Don't even aspire for here.
That's a terrible notion. I agree with you. That's
I have an issue with that. Mm-hmm.
This is limiting, even with children. It's like, this is something that for instance, I don't like in certain teachers when they say, you know what, do this exercise, but it's a little bit difficult. Why are you telling the child that it's difficult in the first place? Let them realize on their own whether they can or cannot, right? And that's the same thing with empowering women. Now, I have a group of girls in my karate school, right? And these are the girls that are from 13 and above. And the first day when they came and joined, I think we had 9 girls. Only girls. And it kept on. We had a few girls come in and a few others left. But we have a group of girls for the grown-ups now, between the ages of 13 and 20, because of regulations and stuff. And these girls are wonderful. They're amazing. I love being in their company because I am so proud of them doing that. I would have thought that a lot of guys would have joined. But no, the girls, they want to learn karate, whether it's for self-defense, whether it's for physical training, whether it's a combination, or even for mental, because I've also mentioned that the way that we will coach karate will be a combination of the Japanese way of karate, and I'm going to also include NLP teaching, so that they can have a mastery over their mind and body a little bit deeper, right? So whatever combination they want, I am pushing them so much, and I tell them, look, you're going to hate me, and I don't care, because I see in you that potential of being great. And not only me, but my colleague Thomas, he also pushes them. We push them and we give them information and do this, and we make them work hard. They're sweating every time we go to the training. And every time they finish, they go like, thank you for being so hard on us.
Well, that's the way you learn. That's kind of how I described my military service. In my military service, was I crying? Was I upset? Was I mad because they're telling me I had to do this and that and the other or whatever? Initially, yes, because I was socialized as a girl, right? When you become a soldier, you don't have that option. When you become a police officer, you don't have that option. It's kind of like I look at when people watch, which is one of like every cop's favorite movie is RoboCop, which first off, RoboCop, everybody's seen RoboCop, right? That scene where the guy gets shot down, just every time it kills me, when he very first gets killed before he becomes RoboCop, right? And it just breaks my heart, because I think of all the law enforcement officers that die at the hand of assailants each year, because they've made the choice to go and serve, and of those police officers, depending on the jurisdictions or whatever, you could have anywhere from 9% to 25 or 30% females that make that choice to go out and be the warrior and be the public servant and to be the protector. Mm-hmm. Because women by nature are protectors, right. So now give them a role where they can be the protector, and they don't necessarily have, now bear in mind, they have I'm going to use an old fashioned term so you guys can get the visual. They have a baton and they have a weapon, just like the male officers do. Yet if you even did surveys and watched the surveys, the amount of times that they've drawn the baton or drawn the weapon is generally far less than that of their male counterparts. And it's not from fear. It's just from tactic and technique. So when you talk about NLP, I totally hear that, because that's a lot of what you will see a female officer, because of her innate ability to have that intuition into a situation, that she knows that I need to bring this down, not up. Right. So she comes in with a whole different analysis. Here's the other thing I want to say, because we're talking about Women History Month, which superheroes, now that we're in the 2000s, the women superheroes are through the roof. I love the women superheroes on the, in all of the storytellings that we see with our superheroes on screen. Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman since I was a child, and that was Linda Carter, right?
I love that woman.
She took her little lasso and got the truth out of these people,
I was actually upset that they didn't get that female, a similar female figure. Now I'm talking because I was raised with Wonder Woman, like Linda Carter, right? She was gorgeous. That woman, like, that was an impersonification of a perfect woman, right?
They made her dress with no clothes. I didn't like that. That was the one thing I didn't like, because I thought she should have had regular clothes on and not look like, she just got out the pool or whatever,
Yeah, the outfit was a little bit outrageous, but obviously at that time, I don't know, it wasn't, right? I was just a kid. Of course, you were a lot older than that. Like, you were probably grown up by then, right? And I was
I am not that old. Oh my goodness.
I'm not saying you're old. I'm not saying you're old.
70s. No, that was in the 70s, dear heart.
Okay, well, I watched it when I was a kid. I watched it when I was like 6, 7, 8, and that was in the 80s, right? So
no, Linda, Wonder Woman was in the 70s.
No, I watched it in the 80s.
Oh, you watched it in the 80s, yeah. That was a rerun, yeah.
Right? So it was the reruns. And to me, that was like, okay, anyway. But coming back to that empowerment of the women and the superheroes. Now, I have I have actually quite a few superheroes in my life, and they're all women. One of which is my mother. She is my superhero, and I've always said it to her. As much as I had issues and as a teenager, and I was naughty as a teenager, but she was the mental support. She was the psychological support. She was my social friend. She was an uncle, a grandmother when I didn't have a grandmother, a grandfather. She was a friend even when we went out. And since the very young age of 4, I was lucky, because there was a gap between my middle sister and myself of about 7.5, 8 years. So I had 8 years of dedication from my mom. And it was only us, because my biological father he was running, like, not running around. They were married, but he was very rarely in the picture. So it was us two against the world. You know how they say it's both of us against the world?
Right.
And it was since I was, as far as I remember, when I was 3, it was going out and sitting at cafes or restaurants, and we watch people and we imagine what they're saying to each other. They're far away, we're just watching them. Or we watch the pigeons and she makes conversations between pigeons. Or we look at birds and animals, and it was always a sense of learning in everything we did, right? And so she became that superhero for me. Like most Freudian psychology will tell you that a man usually wants his mother as his wife, or a copy of the mother, right?
Right. Someone similar to, yes.
Exactly. And I'm not going into the sexual part because that's a little bit cuckoo, but but we're talking about a personality, right? That has these similar traits. Why? In most cases is because that is the superheroine that raised you. And the opposite would be usually with girls and their fathers. But that the idea of having a superhero like my mother, we had times we didn't have food. We had to go and get boxes from Social Security in France to eat. We didn't have money, and I was climbing on the trees, the public trees, to get fruits for us, apples and pears and peaches and all of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had times where we had to borrow food and clothes. I had hand-me-down clothes for quite a while from her best friend, who's also a superhero, right? That woman went through so much. With her husband, they lost their money, they lost they made a lot of money and then they lost it all because of a bad deal, and they had to restart everything. So I was surrounded by these superhero women. My grandmother used to work for the Swiss government, and she knew all these hush hush people. MI6 and CIA and all these people. And but she traveled the world. She lived in Thailand. She lived on St. Vincent. She lived in France, in Switzerland, Germany, Egypt, and she had the knowledge of an encyclopedia. I could ask her anything. I actually still have on my email 600 emails from her that I haven't opened yet, because these are discussions and articles that I probably should have read, because she used to send me at the age of 65, 70, 75, 10 emails per day.
Wow.
Right?
I love that because you got, it's so interesting because you got a little ahead of me in going to your mom, because when I was starting with superheroes, I wanted to first say the superheroes, but of course my mom is my superhero also too. But I want to talk about, when we talk about women empowerment, especially recently is what I'm talking about, is the superhero genre where we're seeing women, we're seeing Black Widow, we're seeing Captain Marvel. We're seeing these women that are saving the world, literally saving the world. And I think it's important that our young people and even our adult people, I mean, I come out of those movies real empowered, like ready, like, what else do I need to do? Captain Marvel's out there saving the world. I need to be doing, And I think that even though it's a fictional story, it's still an empowering story, the modern day Wonder Woman. Now, I haven't went and seen the 1984 one yet, but I saw the one before it. And that was like so empowering to hear how, her heart for the world, that she was going to save the world and she was going to battle this person that was trying to destroy the world. And I know there's so many young women and regular women that have that heart, because sometimes that battle, that demon, that person you're fighting that's trying to ruin the world is things like oppression of women, modern day slavery, domestic violence. This is the demon that I battle still. When I retired from law enforcement, my expertise was domestic violence, and I worked with victims of sex trafficking. And now I continue. I speak, I educate, I train. It's all about getting pulling those victims out. And they're not always women. Trust me, I know, because I worked that detail. I had a percentage of men who were also being abused, because just like we're talking about, women can be aggressive, women can be violent, women can, it's not, everybody's not, what is it? Was it women are sugar and spice and everything nice? It's not always that situation, they can be, whatever in snails and puppy dog tails, the other side of it, So trust me, I don't want anybody to be watching the show and going, oh, she's so pro women, she's not for men. That's not true. I am for everybody living their full life, everybody living a life free from violence and oppression. And when I talk about sex, trafficking and domestic violence and child slavery and all that kind of stuff, That is a person losing their identity and being used as cattle. And I just don't like that. So I'm a huge advocate against that. Now, I want to talk about my mom. Okay. So my mom is my for real deal superhero, just like you. Okay. And my mom raised 4 children. She had 2 boys and 2 girls. I'm a middle child. And as they say, most middle childs are always trying to get attention because they're like in the middle and nobody said, look at me,
Remember me?
right. I'm here, everybody, So when you hear that I'm a middle child, like when I do a writing workshop, I always ask people their birth order and they don't know why, but as we go through the class, you totally get it. Like if somebody's an only child, if somebody's a baby, just the way they behave and the way they live their life, right? Okay. So I thank God I was a middle child because I tended to be the mediator, between the older and the younger and and so when I stepped out into the real world away from my family, I continued to have that mediator type of way of looking at life. How can we all win? How can we come together? That kind of thing. Yeah. So my mom, she had a rambunctious little child like me, definitely determined and focused. I knew from 9 years old I was going in law enforcement, and I went about that path. I studied in school, and when I went to college, I studied criminal justice. So I just walked the path, right? Not everybody gets a path so clear as that. My mother, knowing that I'm her baby daughter, right? And I'm making all of these choices to go into career fields that are very dangerous. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mom, I'm joining the military. Instead of her going, no, you won't do it. You won't do it. She said, do you really want to join the military? Because they're always like, yeah. Do you really want to join the military? And I was like, yeah. And I'm telling her the reasons why. And I'm so excited. And I actually went in as an officer. So people who know about the military structure, that's also just a different level. And my father was a military officer for a period of time. He served. So again, walking in my dad's footsteps kind of thing. And my mom said, you know what? She said, if that's what you want to do, I'm here for you. And my mom was praying for me and sending me care packages and doing, she kept me, she kept me lifted up. And then when I made the choice to go in law enforcement, think about this, everybody, whether it's a boy or a girl that says, hey, Mom or Dad, I'm going to join the police force. Mm. The parent is immediately concerned, boy or girl, right? But now you have a girl, she's like, no one in our family, like my dad wasn't, anything to do with police, my grandparents, nothing, right? And I say, pick me, I'm going to be a police officer, right? She prayed and prayed and prayed. My mom, I tell you what, that's what I'm saying. She's my superhero. My mother made sure, my mom made me lunches. I'm grown, right? She made me lunches. She ironed my uniform. She kept everything. She made sure, she didn't know how to polish my boots. I actually had to pay people to polish my boots because I'm not a big boot polisher. But anyways, that's another note, right? But I tell you what, she supported me. She was so happy for me. My grandmoms had passed by that time that I became a police officer. But they always told me, girl, do what you, because they saw me become a soldier. So, girl, go do what you want to do. They always told me, even though both my grandparents, like my father's mother and my father's father were both entrepreneurs. They owned stores in Buffalo, New York. So my grandmother ran a grocery store. My grandfather ran a collision shop. So for me to come now and be, so in post-retirement, be an entrepreneur, it was very natural because it's something that's in my bloodline. You know exactly. What I'm saying? So I followed that in my bloodline. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So my mom's my superhero. I have a strong respect for the women in my family that came before me because they were always can-do women, which can-do women means you decide what you want to do and you do it. Instead of thinking in your mind, I can't do this because I'm a woman. I can't do this because they were can-do women. So I would encourage our audience that are listening, I hope even, as one of the speakers that is the beginning of Women History Month, you hear my cry, you hear my story, and you see what I'm saying here. See what I'm saying? We do. But you can do it. Yeah, you can do it, and have that can-do attitude and decide what you want to do, because once you put your mind to it, it's really about mindset, and you determine that you deserve it, you can do it, and go for it. And don't get me started with the naysayers that will try to tell you that you can't do it, because think about it. I was the second Black female in a predominantly white situation, all male. And do you think that I had a bunch of people going, yay, yay, we've got this amazing woman working with us? Come on. It wasn't the case, right? So
No.
yeah, you have to determine that you can do it and not let other people bring you down and discourage you, and find your supporters like your superheroes moms and stuff like that, that will say, go for it, and I'm here for you all the way.
It's funny that you're saying that supporting part, because that's the empowerment itself of women. How your mom supported you, right? She empowered you to be who you are, and you are doing the same now with the rest. My mother, she empowered me to be who I was, always making sure that I was abiding by the rules and the chivalry or old code that I was taught, right? To
Right.
the point that if I did anything wrong against the law, she would be the first one to pick up the phone and hand me over.
Yes.
There is no, and that's still empowering, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that goes against your children. This is empowering your children to be responsible. And that's a hero, that's a superhero that you want in your life. Now, all
Right.
the women that are listening to us, and the ones that will listen, this is important, because you can empower yourself even when you make choices in life. And that's what I tell my clients as well, because some of them are single mom, they just got separated and divorced, and this because this is part of the programs that I created, right? And funny enough, when they started, they were called the super mom and the super dad. So because I believe that a parent can be a super parent, a super dad, or a super mom, being single, being just separated, being divorced. But the issue that happens is that they are still identifying themselves with that old relationship. And even after a few years, right? So what they do is that they jump, for instance, into a new relationship so that they're still, okay, I'm still a couple, I'm still this, but you haven't empowered yourself. And I'm talking to women now. Men, they will have their month another time if they have a month. I'm not sure.
They have their, wait, 11 months a year they have.
No, but you see, that's not right, because there should be a movement as well that empowers men to be more nurturing, more kind, to be kinder, to be more respectful of women. Because I see a lot of men that have no sense of decency whatsoever. And that
Right.
is
Right.
It's
Well, when I think about what you're saying with that, I don't know if you've ever seen the film Fight Club. Have you ever watched that movie? Fight Club? Okay, so that's a big film with me, because I work with men. I work a lot with men. You guys hear me say about empowering women, but I really, a lot of my coaching clients are men, businessmen, and in that Fight Club, and of course, because I come from the military and the law enforcement, so I can be very just boom, 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 boom,
Right.
not necessary. I mean, I have nurturing in me, but when it comes to getting things done, like directing a film and doing my coaching and stuff like that, I'm very like, this is what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, of course.
we have our moments where I say, let's celebrate. Tell me what's good from last time. Okay, now let's get to work. What did you get done? That kind of thing. But what's interesting about Fight Club is there a scene in there? Now, of course, Brad Pitt is in it, so I've probably watched it about 20 times just to see my boy Brad, right? But in the movie, yeah, it's like everybody, even guys like Brad, okay? But in the movie, there's a scene where Brad's character is sitting outside the tub, and the other guy, Ed Norton's character, is sitting in the tub, and they're having, and they say, we're a generation of men raised by women. And I forget the second part of it, but what they're saying is that's why they have the Fight Club. They're trying to rediscover masculinity, so that fighting and just that core, like you get two kids together, two boy children together, and they want to wrestle and they want to, just like get this physical, thing going on. And it's that pent up energy, that testosterone that's inside the man. And I like your idea when you said the thing about the movement for nurturing, to actually, but a lot of it, because I go back to that Fight Club analogy, is that there is some, we've talked about this before, hurt people end up hurting people, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a male or female, either one, that has been hurt by either one of the genders, sometimes it happens in the home. They had no father, or their mother wasn't around, whatever the situation was. Now you have, because we all have our own inner hurt that's going on most of the time from childhood and things that happen to us throughout life. So they have this negative image of women. Why do women deserve to have this? And why should I open the door for them? They can open the door, just like you were saying, what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the other side, where you have males going, well, she can do it. She can, she can go out there and fix that truck. She can. So it would be interesting. I like your concept. I don't know if we'd ever get it on. Maybe you could do like a week dedicated to it, telling the man to find their inner nurturing child or something like that. But I just think that because of the socialization of our society, it would be so hard, and especially dealing with hurting hearts and hurting people that turn around and hurt other people. It would be a huge movement to kind of speak to those people who are hurting and have just hatred towards the woman gender. They feel that a woman is here for one purpose, and that is to, make dinner and have babies, which is a sad situation. But if you look at the countries around the world, we kind of laugh, Kamal, but if you look at the countries around the world and you look at the role of women in their country, it is supportive and subservient. We don't see a lot of women leading in some of these countries. So my whole thing is, this is Women's History Month, and I'd like to see that change. I'm totally in shock right now that only just recently women were allowed to drive cars in Saudi, and if you look at it, that is a very empowering situation. My friend Kamal is in Norway. He lives in Norway. I live in the US, and I would not even know what to do if I couldn't drive a car. I've been driving a car since I was 16 years old, so I couldn't imagine having to wait. And can I get a driver to come? And somebody's got to come take me. And my brother's got to go with me to the mall. And, all this kind of stuff. It's just craziness.
No, it's absolutely nuts. And back to what we were talking about, that hurt and empowering women again, it's important that women know, whether they're in a relationship or not, that they have a choice in what they want. It's not always the man's opinion or choice that goes. You as a woman should allow yourself to be empowered by saying no or yes. This is my choice. I will make the decision for that. My mom was very adamant about these things. There were certain things that there's a no-go. I started smoking when I was 15 years old, and then I quit in my 30s. I'm still in my 30s, I think, or I'm 18 now. I don't know. And I couldn't smoke in front of my mom up until the age of 27, 28. Not out of fear, but out of respect of the woman that she is.
Right.
Right. This comes back to that education of respect for one another, male, female. But before we go to that, you need to respect yourself enough to allow yourself these choices in life that you make, and why and how you're going to make them. It is up to you. I've always said that it is a choice that we have, and there's always one, even if you don't like it.
Well, let me help you with that one, because I've been blessed to be able to travel around the world. And I know that there's probably some women that may be listening to this, or maybe they can't even listen to it because they're not allowed to.
Right.
Because empowerment of women is against the law because, for example, I've gone to some African countries. I'm not going to name the countries, but I speak, I do conferences and I speak at different women's conferences and things such as that. And I was told, thank God I had this conversation with some of the female leaders at this particular event. And I was ready to come and tell the women, go for your dreams, do what you want to do, make your life choices, be amazing, right? And then the ladies told me, no, here in this country, the women are bought by dowry. The women are owned by their husband or their husband's family. They do not have the freedom to choose. They cannot choose. They cannot say yes or no. If he says it's time for me to be intimate with you, that woman has to be intimate. Okay, right. Which technically could be a rape because she would want to say no, but she doesn't have the freedom to say no. So you and I come from countries where our women are fairly liberated and have the ability to make some choices, but there's real world situations right now where women cannot make that choice. They cannot say yes or no. They must do what they are told, and they are basically a part of a purchased part of a household, almost equivalent to, and I hate to say this, but it's true, like a cow. We want you to you know what I'm saying, to support the family. I want you in the kitchen. I want you washing clothes. I want you doing this, and then when it's time for me to have that time with you, we'll have that time. And then I need you back helping my mom or doing whatever for the household. You understand? So we have to be, when we're talking about women history right now, this being Women History Month, we must not forget that everyone is not free to be able to do what you and I as a coach are teaching. They don't have.
Well, in a sense, the idea behind my words perhaps were not formulated because I've lived in Egypt, and there is a class of people that are like that still, right? Where the women, they are more assertive, but they still don't have a lot of choices. And yet, when I'm saying the choice is still there, is you can always pack your stuff and leave. But it's not for everybody, and it's not easy, and I'm not saying everybody can do it. And I understand, I know there are other countries in Africa that you've talked about. I've been there, and I've been to other countries around the world that have the same situation. That comes back to the interpretation of lots of things, of culture, of society, and all of that. But that's not what we're getting to. What I'm trying to get to is that empowerment of, let's say, the women that can listen to us, those that can make a choice, those that want to make a choice in their life. And I really, really feel pain for those that can't, because I've seen it. And sometimes even the oppressed ones that are in the modern world, and I'm going to say that this way, they believe they don't have a choice because they are psychologically manipulated and abused by their partners.
Right.
And you know that, I've seen it, right? And they believe that they have no choice, whether it's the children will be taken, whether they are threatened by their life, whether they're threatened to the family, whatever it might be.
Right.
And that is scary. And I want to tell women, even though I'm not one, and I just want to tell all the women out there that have experienced that have been through something like that, if you are listening and one of them, contact Tamia and talk to her. And if you are one and you're still afraid, look deep down inside of you. What is the worst that could happen to you? At the end of the day, nothing.
Well, to be realistic, so I thank you for plugging me. I want to encourage everybody, if you guys can go back on the Nkosi Talk Show page and watch the domestic violence segment that I did, and also watch the sex trafficking awareness segment that I did, because it has a lot of tactics and techniques and information in it. It's very important for you to get free. But here's the thing. I like what you said. What's the worst thing that can happen? Yet the answer is, if you are a slave and you're living in slavery and you're being abused and violently abused, and when you hear me say slavery, you're going, what does she mean slave? Modern day slavery?
I know. I know.
So you know what I'm saying? But I'm saying our audience, if the audience is hearing me say slavery and they're thinking, what does she mean slavery? I mean, it is going on right now. We have more people enslaved in this world right now than ever in the history of our world, whether they're being sex trafficked, or if they're inside of domestic relationships where they can't leave, they're literally being treated like a slave. I mean, there's so many situations, but my thing is, you have to look at it like this. You have to decide. It's when the pain is so bad that you just have to go. And what is
Right.
the other alternative? You may be killed. You may lose your life. But do you want to live in slavery, or do you
Exactly.
want to live your life in freedom? So that's really the choice that some of us have to make. And I would say, choose life, choose freedom, in whenever possible, choose freedom, and to live life without being oppressed. There are people, there are resources, there is hope. There is so much out there for you. If you're listening here or watching this, and I'm sure there's people that are just in tears right now because they're in situations where they're like, I don't know how to get out. Well, I'm telling you, like Kamal said, reach out to me. And there's resources, you guys. There's total resources. Please don't live oppressed and in violence that is not for you. So my message for Women History Month is, let's get our women free. Let's get them free from these horrible relationships that are keeping them down, and let's get them lifted up so that they can live a life. And this is going to be good for you, your children, and your family, because when they're not worried about you and whether, someone who you trusted is going to take your last breath. Freedom, ladies. Let's get you out of there. Let's help you.
Thank you very much, Samia. It's very important. And from my side, women listening, watching, if you are in trouble, if you don't know what to do, sit down with yourself and consider the options that Tamia said. And even, I'm going to put it as bluntly as I can. We are born alone and we die alone. No matter who is next to you. You come into this world alone, yes, through a mother and all that, but you are alone in that instant. When you die, you are alone. Everything that is behind that doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, your freedom, your sense of self, whether it's in this realm or the next, if you believe in it, that existence has to be on your terms if it's in this realm. If you refuse that, you are refusing your right to breathe. So please grab yourself, give yourself a hug, love yourself, enjoy the time that you have with yourself, with your children, with your loved ones, and push yourself forward to reaching the peaks of any mountain you want to reach. Get out there and stop blaming others and blaming yourself for doing decisions. You've made those decisions. These decisions have made you who you are today. Move forward. Look to the next day and empower yourself to being better tomorrow. Continuously learn, continuously push yourself, and stop taking yeses and nos left and right from guys or women, even sometimes, that are just stepping on your toes. Put your foot down and say, enough, set your boundaries. So that is my message for empowering women this month. And I would love to send some love to my mom, my grandma, may she rest in peace, and this wonderful lady that is in my life, because she is actually a very strong woman. And I really hope she gets to put her foot down with the things that she wants to do in her life, because she's a wonderful person. And to all the women out there, I honestly have lots of love for you to give.
Well, thank you, Kamal. We appreciate the love. I feel the love all the time when you and I are working together. So it's a blessing to have you in my life. We have such a unique Nkosi talk show team that it's just amazing. We really are becoming like brothers and sisters, and we are from all over the world, which is so amazing. So I know our time is coming to an end, and I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. I pray that you were able to get something from our discussion today. I just want you to know, and I'm sure you probably feel that, I love you guys, and I think that you are amazing. I want to tell you that you are so worth it. You know, you are God's perfection. He did not make a mistake when he made you. And his plan for your life is beautiful. So if you are in a situation that is not beautiful, then you know what? Even if you're not a prayer, I would say, because prayers are very simple, just say, Lord, help me. Just say, Lord, help me. Nothing too intricate, because he will. You have to be still. And like Kamal said, kind of connect with yourself and check in with yourself. Is it time to be done? Because you know that this is not God's plan for your life. This is not the perfect plan for your life. Because remember, it won't be perfection, but it definitely won't be abuse. So please make that choice and get free to live the life that God has planned for you. That would be my message for you on day 1 of Women's History Month. And stay tuned to Nkosi Talk Show, because we're going to be talking more and more about it this month, empowering our women. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Tamia. Thank you everyone for watching Nkosi Talk Show. And we are here from Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. Different coaches, different speakers. If you want to get in touch with any of the speakers of today or any of our speakers or coaches, please contact us. Just write your name, write a message, say we want to reach out, and one of our coaches or speakers will get in touch with you. Until we see you again, have a lovely day, morning, evening, wherever you may be, and be safe and well. Take care, everybody.
Be safe. God bless you.